All right, good afternoon, everybody. Can I have the secretary please do the roll call?
Irwin?
Here.
Mathis? Here. Alejo? Bro? Here. Brown? Here. Chavez? Daly?
Here.
Frazier?
Here.
Solis?
Did you get Mr. Alejo? Do it on the record.
Alejo?
Here.
All right, thank you. And we're going to start with the adoption of committee rules.
Entertain a motion.
I'll entertain a motion.
Second.
Has anything, may I ask a question? Has anything changed in the rules since last year?
There were minor wording changes.
Go ahead. Those minor wording changes.
Nothing substantive.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so we had the motion. Okay.
Secretary, please call the roll.
Can the secretary please call the roll?
Irwin?
Yes.
Irwin, I. Mathis?
Aye.
Mathis, I. Alejo? Aye. Alejo, I. Bro?
Aye.
Bro, I. Brown?
Aye.
Brown, I. Chavez? Daly?
Aye.
Daly, I. Frazier?
Aye.
Frazier, I. Solis? Solis, I.
All right, and AB 240 by Assemblymember Wilk is going to be put over until our next hearing pursuant to Committee Rule 2C so that we may process the author's amendments that were received today.
Excuse me, Madam Chair. Those amendments were not submitted. They were given as a courtesy to your consultant. We plan to do those amendments when it goes to parks because it's germane to parks, not germane to Veterans Affairs.
All right, well, veterans did receive them today, so.
Then I'd like to
you're not
have you place a call into Mr. Wilson
that gavel down.
to answer a parliamentary inquiry because I believe the actions you've taken you cannot take. So thank you.
There's no
We can just
motion
move on.
pending. They're out of order.
Can we take a, can we,
Okay, move on to the consent?
all right, can we move on to the consent without Mr. Chalk? So we're moving on to the consent calendar. There are two bills on consent, AB 13 and AB 27, both by Assemblymember Chavez. And I will entertain a motion on consent.
Move approval of both items. Second.
So that was moved by Assemblymember Daly, seconded by Mr. Frazier. Can we do the roll call, please?
The motion is do pass and we refer to appropriations. Irwin?
Aye.
Irwin, I. Mathis?
Aye.
Mathis, I. Alejo? Aye. Alejo, I. Bro?
Aye.
Bro, I. Brown? Brown, I. Chavez? Daly?
Aye.
Daly, I. Frazier?
Aye.
Frazier, I. Solis? Solis, I.
All right, so AB 13 and 27 do pass and re-refer to appropriations.
Do we want to hold the roll open so that members may add their vote, but those bills are out?
All right, so we will hold the roll open, so members that are not presently here can add to the roll. All right, so
The next bill will be yours.
yeah, the next bill is going to be AB 170, and I am going to be handing the gavel over to Mr. Mathis.
Okay.
So, this will be Assemblymember Irwin. You may present your bill.
All right. Assemblymember Irwin, you may present your bill.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mathis. And this is AB 171, the CVSO funding bill. AB 171 would appropriate the sum of $5.6 million to county veteran service officers who help connect California veterans with the benefits that they have earned. And for the background, recent military conflicts have created a new generation of veterans eligible for federal benefits, and California is now home to approximately 1.8 million vets. California CVSOs are the primary local contact for veterans seeking access to federal benefits. From 1995 to 2013, the state has budgeted a total of $41.4 million for CVSO funding, an investment that has helped local veterans in obtaining $4.1 billion in new federal monies. This is a return of about $98 for every dollar the state allocates to CVSOs. This year, the governor's budget proposes $2.6 million for CVSOs, a cut of $3 million from last year's budget. AB 171 would restore these cuts. It is critical that CVSOs receive a steady stream of funding to hire staff which improve their ability to connect with underserved veterans who may be unaware of federal benefits available to them. The funding level for the past 2 years has generated $546 million in new and increased funding for California veterans. This money not only benefits our vets, but it also benefits California. Lastly, I want to emphasize that this bill contains language to require the department to develop a formula for allocating the funding that encourages innovation and rewards outstanding service by county veteran service officers. This portion of the bill will ensure that the state is spending its money wisely and will require CVSOs to justify the increased spending. This bill will also ensure that the changes be made to target underserved populations or to adjust to the changing needs of California's veterans. I have with me Jack Kerwin and Pete Conity from the California Association of County Veteran Service Officers.
Move the bill.
Good afternoon, members. My name is Pete Conity, and I've been representing the County Veteran Service Officers since 2001. And many of you on the committee are co-authors of this bill, and we want to thank you very much. And we are prepared. I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Kerwin because he's got the important information.
Thank you. Jack Kerwin, budget consultant to the California Association of County Veteran Service Officers. As Assembly Member Irwin noted, the governor's budget will reduce funding from $5.6 million to $2.6 million for the county veteran service officers in the upcoming fiscal year. And it's important to understand what that means. 32 veteran service representatives, those are the folks that meet face-to-face with the veteran to help them access their benefits, were hired with that temporary funding. If we revert back to the $2.6 million, we'll lose about 80% of that staff. So what's the impact? Well, right now, because we have so few veteran service reps out on the streets, we underutilize our primary benefits, the monetary benefits, compensation and pension. That means that there's about 73,000 veterans out there who are not getting compensation, monetary benefits that they're owed as a result of their service. And so you might ask, well, how do we know how much money we need? We've looked at best practices with other states, Florida and Texas in particular, because they're the right size, same type of system as ours. And a number of studies have shown that the most significant factor is the ratio of veterans to veteran service representatives. They stand at about 5,700 veterans to each veteran service officer. California, with these 32 positions, is over 10,000 veterans to each veteran service representative. So you can see we're in pretty bad shape when it comes. That lack of staffing drives the underutilization of benefits. And you need to remember that every year there's 30,000 new vets coming into the state of California. That's consistent. There's going to be an increase over the next 2 to 5 years as the military forces are drawn down. But even after that drawdown, there'll be 25 to 28,000 new vets coming into the state of California. One of the issues that also drives this need is that Iraq and Afghanistan veterans, the recently released veterans, are coming back with a better knowledge that they have these benefits. The problem is that they don't know how to access them. It's not like filing for Social Security. It is a very paperwork-intensive, paralegal-like process to file for your claims. The other thing to note that's driving this workload is with our Vietnam vets. My peers are aging. As age, veterans are needing more and more benefits, taking greater and greater need of their VA medical benefits. And then we have other state programs that will be driving additional needs. You might even call them mandated. We have the driver's license program that's going to take effect on Veterans Day this year, and that's going to drive every veteran that wants that marker on their license. They have to go to a CVSO. So this workload, sometimes people think that because wars are drawing down that the workload goes away. That is a fallacy. The workload is driven, it's constant, it's based on force structure, it's based on state programs. And without this funding being made permanent, we will lose staffing in the CVSOs, the people, the local people that sit down across the table from veterans and make sure they have their benefits. Thank you for your time.
Let me just wrap up. Last month, the California Association of County Veteran Service Officers held a training class put on by their national association and trained and accredited 47 brand new CVSOs and Veterans Service representatives that we would not have been able to train if we had not received this extra money. So you can see we're using the money wisely. The claims are going up, and more money is coming into the state of California, which are not really benefits. They're what the veterans have earned, but they do not know, they're not aware that they have them. So we would respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Ms. Brown?
Oh.
You want to hear in support first?
Oh.
Or do you have
Go
a
ahead.
question?
However
specific?
you're doing.
Yeah, let's go ahead and hear for the in support from the audience.
Cindy Hillary on behalf of the Rural County Representatives of California, representing the 34 rural counties in California. Full funding for CVSOs is critically important in rural counties. We have an overrepresentation of veterans in rural counties on a per capita basis, and we certainly have a very low population base with which to augment sort of veterans' needs with county staffing, and so CVSOs fill a desperately needed niche in rural counties to make sure that our veterans receive the benefits to which they are entitled. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair and members, Sylvia Solisha on behalf of the Board of Supervisors for the counties of Kern, Fresno, and Madera. We have over 100,000 veterans in these three counties combined. This funding is critical to ensure that these officers help these veterans navigate through the complex VA process. Thank you.
Nicole Wertelman on behalf of the Ventura County Board of Supervisors, very appreciative of the introduction of the measure and in strong support.
Members of the committee, Steve Kelmer on behalf of the Board of Supervisors of Los Angeles County. On behalf of the 300,000 veterans that are in our county, we support this bill.
Any other witnesses in support?
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members. Reed Milburn with the CDP Veterans Caucus in strong support of this bill.
Any other witnesses in support? Any witnesses in opposition? Okay, open it to questions from the members.
I'd just like to say I love the bill. I appreciate that our chair, as everyone has introduced it, and I'd be honored if I could join on as a co-author as it moves forward. Thank you very much.
I'd like to ask a question. First of all, thank you for the bill. I would like to sign on as a co-author. However, I wanted to ask a question. Have we gotten to the point where our returning veterans are going through the paperwork before they're released?
That's a very good question, and the answer is no. We have not. Everybody makes valiant attempts to educate our servicemen and women when they get out of the service. However, doing additional paperwork is usually the last thing on their minds. So we've tried in the past under a previously funded initiative to go back to them 6 months, 6 months after they got out. The problem, there are many problems, but one is they get out in California and then they return to another state or vice versa. So we are making efforts to try and do that, but we can't even get DOD or the Veterans Administration to talk to each other and transfer records, and they've been working on that for about 10 years.
So if in fact, when you gave them their DD 214s, you gave them the paperwork and helped them and the CSFOs, if they would help, CVSOs, I'm sorry, if they would help them before they really got out of service, wouldn't that be the best way for us to handle this issue?
You know, it actually would, and there is legislation to create a California only or a California-centered transition assistance program. The issue is that CVSOs are so overwhelmed with people filing claims. For the past 10 years, the state of California, the legislature, and the administration have added on a tremendous amount of additional responsibilities to our county veteran service officers. They now go into the jails. They go to the vet treatment courts. They try and go to the prisons. They try and go to the colleges and universities. But they're frankly, for the most part, don't have the time to do it. And so you've hit upon one of the important reasons why we need this additional funding.
And if I may add to that, I mentioned the best practices in the ratio of veterans to veteran service representatives. And if you looked at that, there's a need right now today for 344 veteran service representatives in the state of California. There's 185. So you can see the workload is about twice as much as there are people to actually do it. And if this bill doesn't get passed, then we're going to lose 27 of that 185. So it will exacerbate the situation. It's a great idea in perfect staffing ratios. You'd be able to do something like that, but it's impossible when you're manned at 50%.
I believe there was a motion and a second to move forward.
I got a question.
Question?
Yep. Thank you for the presentation. I was watching it upstairs when I was doing another meeting, but the question that came up about one of the testimony about full funding, I really appreciate what we're doing here for the $5.6 million, but what is actually the requirement? What's the full funding that is required?
The state of California has authorized CVSOs getting $11 million, but we've only appropriated in the past 2 years $5.6. We would love to get to the 11 million, but I think we need to do it in steps so we can develop the metrics to show that we are spending the money wisely. So our primary need right now is to get the 5.6 million in the new funding, annual funding level, instead of going through this drill every year.
Yeah, I appreciate, I think.
If I may provide a few more specifics. As Mr. Conati mentioned, the law states $11 million as a share, but that's an old figure. In the prior fiscal year, including the $5.6 million, the state only provided 21% of the funding for all CVSO operations, and yet we have a policy that says we should be doing 50%. Don't have my calculator, but my quick guesses would be closer to 17 to 18 million dollars if we truly wanted to fund at the amount stated in Military and Veterans Code of 50%.
Yeah, I remember when I was there, it was 16 million. The reason I want to highlight that, especially for the testimony, is that this is a really good bill because we're moving it forward and it's continuous, but it's not fully funding. It's just a component of what the real requirement is. Additionally, applying for comp and pen, which the CVSOs do you have any statistics on first time the application goes in, how many of those actually get through and how many get dropped off and never land?
You know, we're working on coming up with the metrics. The problem is the system we're using, as I'm sure you know, is VetPro, and that is not designed. It's, what do we call it? It's a case management software system, and it's not designed to really give us those kind of metrics, but we're working on improving it with CDVA.
If I may also add, I think the number you're probably looking at is how many of those claims, when they finally make it to the federal government, get authorized first. That's been a changing number, but as most of the members recognize, it's a huge backlog that remains with the federal government. We can try to find some percentages for you if you'd like.
And the last question is, we have 3 centers, VA centers, that take all the work from the county veteran service officers that work these. They're out of San Francisco, LA, and San Diego. Have any of the federal VA SESs that run these places been there over a year?
I'm not really sure, to be honest. They have had backlogs, and that's why we have the strike teams in those centers to help smooth the path for all the strike teams. Handle the claims that come from the CVSOs that have a CalVet power of attorney associated with it. So we're working very closely with the strike teams, but they just found 13,000 claims in Oakland going back to 91. So
does Deputy Secretary Tremblay know how many of those, have they been here, any of them over a year? The federal VA, the directors that run those 3 centers that control our veterans in California, that control the workflow of our county veteran service officers that we're going to spend $5.6 million on to take care of veterans, those 3 people, have any of them been here over a year?
I believe the one in San Diego worked on an acting basis for a while, so has been here longer than a year. The others are relatively new. I'd have to get the time of how long they've been there.
For the group here to understand, I think, because I think this is a really nice committee, and I think with our current chair, who is really committed to this, that's the issue we need to work on. We can give the CVSOs all the money they want, but until we, ensure that the federal VA put a commitment to have their people there. Right now, the way it works, the senior executive service positions, the closer you are to D.C., the more important you are. The farther away you are, like California, the least important you are, and the junior you are. So if you're a GS-15 and in the VA system and you want to become an SES, you'll take a job in California, be an SES 1 or 2 to run the place, and immediately when you get there, you'll start shuffling your resume to D.C. so that when immediately an SES 2 permanent comes in, you move out of here and you go to D.C., then you can be an SES 3 or 4 and go up the system. So California is a dumping ground for the senior executive services in the federal VA. I said it, that they were a dumping ground. So what we need to do is we need to go back to the VA and say, through the California Department of Veteran Affairs, do you know what? We're the largest state. We want people to come here. They're going to be here for at least 3 years and fix the system. Secondarily, we are so large that whatever we do, the entire country will follow. That automated system that we were just being briefed on, we could be the templates of success for the entire state, the nation, if we wanted to take that.
Member Chavez, are you almost done?
No, I'm just talking there. So that's the point we need to go. This money's good, but we need to expand it.
Absolutely.
If you really want to help veterans.
More questions?
I had one more
Senator
question.
Brown and then
I
Member
just had one
Salas.
more quick question. Is there a statute of limitations that military people have, veterans have when they come out?
No, there is no statute of limitations on filing a claim. As a matter of fact, some of the biggest awards we receive are claims that were denied at one time and then refiled. And if the claim is accepted, then you get paid back to when you originally filed the claim. There are staff members whose fathers filed a claim with a CVSO in this building that received claims in excess of $250,000.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Salas.
Yep. Thank you. Thank you, Chairwoman, for bringing this. I remember this item from last year as well. Mr. Kennedy, you had spoken about the strike teams as well, and I just wanted to ask a question as to the 5.6 that we're allocating here. I do understand under statute in 2009 we do allow up to 11 million. But under the current proposal, we have 5.6, which is great. But how is that divided up? Because I remember in last year's budget, 3 million was from general fund, and then another portion of that was for the strike teams. So for this 5.6, how is that exactly broken up? Are we done with the strike teams? Is that still continuing?
I'll take this one. Strike teams is a separate bill that I'll be introducing coming up. So I believe we.
But as it pertained to.
Motion is second is where we're at. So, so the motion is do pass as amendment to appropriation amendments. Any co-authors only.
The motion is do pass and refer to appropriations. Irwin?
Aye.
Aye. Mathis?
Aye.
Mathis, aye. Alejo? Alejo, aye. Bro?
Aye.
Bro, aye. Brown? Brown, aye. Chavez? Chavez, aye. Daly?
Aye.
Daly, aye. Frazier? Frazier, aye. Salas? Salas, aye.
All right. We have 9 votes. Measure passes. It's
All right, I will open the roll for AB for the consent calendar. Secretary, please call the roll.
The motion is do pass and refer to appropriations. Chavez? Chavez, aye.
All right, very efficient meeting, 4:30. This meeting is adjourned.